One night, down by the Klamath River, there was a man and a woman, and they were walking in the rain. She had her baby wrapped up really tight, and they weren't talking. He was walking ahead, she was walking behind, and the rain was just soaking right into their shoes. But she kept that baby dry. And then they got to the bridge over the Klamath, and about halfway across he turned and he held out his hands. And she was surprised because he'd never held that baby before. He'd never wanted to hold that baby. And she smiled a little and she handed the baby to him. And then he threw it in the river. And she screamed and she jumped into the river after her baby. And she'd wrapped it so tightly she could see the blanket. And she tugged in that blanket and she could feel the baby. And she pulled it to her. And they'd been swept downstream a little ways. So she found the bank and she scrambled up. She kept slipping in the mud. But she finally got to the top. And she stood there just dripping, looking around, trying to see where her husband was. And then she heard this squeal of brakes, and she heard this man say, "Lady, are you okay?" And then he came out and he kind of helped her into the car, and he got her a blanket and he wrapped it around her and he said, "You dry off, ma'am. You shouldn't be out in this." And then they drove. And about halfway across the bridge, he said, "Lady, is your baby okay? What were you doing out in this rain?" And he didn't hear anything. And he turned around and she was gone. She and the baby, they were gone. The blanket was there, but they weren't. And he almost wrecked, but he drove across the bridge and he went into this restaurant on the other side, and he went in and he said, "Lady," to the waitress, "can you give me a cup of coffee? I think I just saw a ghost." And the waitress said, "Oh, really? Tell me about it." And he said, "Well, there was this woman. She had a baby, and she was just soaked to the skin, and I put him in my car. But when I got halfway across the bridge, they were gone." And the waitress said, "Oh, that's the Klamath lady. Yeah, she's been here for about 100 years. Yeah, she and her husband, the legend says, were walking across the bridge over the Klamath River, and he threw the baby in. And the mother jumped in to get the baby, and they both drowned. Nobody knows why he threw that baby in. He was crazy, I guess. But she won't give up. Every stormy night, she's out there looking for her husband. So it's a good thing you stopped and picked her up, because not everybody does. And we have a lot of wrecks around here on stormy nights.